Hello, 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 and happy Thursday or whatever day it is for you, depending on when you're watching. Welcome to the Impact Podcast. We're so excited to be back. Today, I'm so excited. We have some guests, some friends with us, and yeah, I'm going to let them introduce you because I know I can't do them justice, so I'm going to let them do it themselves. But what we're talking about today is I called it, is there a divide? Right. And so we're going to talk about it. We're going to figure out, is there a divide at all? When we talk about family and group programs, center programs. And then I kind of want to hear what are some things that maybe there's some misconceptions, maybe we just don't understand. I want these ladies to share with us the behind the scenes of family programs. And so we have with us Laverne and Latanta, who are also the founders of Family Care Coalition. And of course, I have my sisters, Dr. Obiama Martin and Damaris, who will be with us any second. And we're going to do what we do. And we're going to have these conversations because we are real people with real resources having real conversations. So without further ado, Laverne, we'll start with you. If you would like to introduce, Laverne, you are a second time guest. Now that I think about it, yes, you're a veteran. Okay. For the people, can you share
Yes.
with us, tell us about yourself and about Family Care Coalition and all the amazing stuff that you're doing.
Mhm. So yes, I'm Laverne Cheeseborough. I am the owner of Heavenly Made Creations Family Group Child Care Program in Southwest Philadelphia. I'm also the co-founder of Family Child Care Coalition, which is an organization for us as family providers. And I'm also the founder of Heavenly Blessing, which is a nonprofit organization that supports child care providers getting coaching services and children getting tuition.
You might be breaking up. Is she breaking up for me as well?
Oh, oh,
Laverne, can
oh,
you?
oh, oh. Y'all can't hear me?
Okay, we can now. I think it's better now.
Okay,
It's in and out. It's in
okay.
and out.
You hear me? I went out. Okay.
Now we're back.
All right. So I was saying, all right, going back. I am the owner of Heavenly Made Creations Family Group Child Care Program located in Southwest Philadelphia. And I am the co-founder of the Family Child Care Coalition, which is a organization for us by us, which is family providers. And I'm also the founder of Heavenly Made Blessings, which is a nonprofit that supports providers moving into quality for coaching and helps children get scholarships for tuition and childcare.
Yes, awesome, awesome, and welcome back to the Impact Podcast. And Latanta, how are you this evening?
Good evening. Got a lot going on as usual. We all do.
Wow.
But I'm so excited to be here. My name is Latanta Gabo. I am the owner of Small Wonders FCCH and the Urban Giving Tree, which is my new childcare center. I've only been open for about 8 or 9 months now. But I'm a co-founder of the Family Child Care Coalition along with Laverne, and I'm just super excited to be here tonight. So thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right. So just like all of us, typically we wear so many different hats. So congratulations on all the things that you ladies are doing. Um, let's just start with the question: is there a divide between family and group and center providers?
I would
Yes, it
say,
is.
go ahead, Laverne. Go ahead.
Yes, it is. And it's really unfortunate, but we do get to build relationships so we can understand what the divide is. I know there's this thing that centers, and this is my perception of it. Center providers and owners tend to feel like mm, we're above family providers, literally, and it could be involving doing the work, doing more work, the position, the title. It just they separate themselves for the most part. I'm not a family provider, so they kind of go over there.
I think the divide is more of a systemic based issue. That is where it stemmed from. When you have governing agencies that can set regulations to determine, like, well, this category, we're going to lower the standards, or we've seen lower qualifications. There's a history of many family providers coming in as aunties or nanas or neighbors or something along those lines. And so I think systemically that has really, really impacted where people are. And it's not a conscious thing, I think. I think it's kind of subconscious. You just fall into this category like, well, I'm a group or I'm a center. So, my expenses are higher. My expectations are more. We don't have TV, or, there are a lot of like negative stigmatisms around family childcare and what it looks like and what it means. But I from my own experience can attest that that's not what my high quality family childcare program looks like. I mean, I am a pre-K to 4 certified teacher with a master's degree. There are no televisions in my program whatsoever. Technology that's there is used to meet high quality standards for assessments and observations. And so we spend a lot of time really working on meeting all those developmental domains in my family childcare program, which is mirrored in my center. And so I think systemically, those bars have been set in place and people just kind of fall into the patterns and just kind of go with the flow because this is what we know.
Got you.
And
Okay.
I wanted to piggyback because I get that, because before, we didn't get inspections and stuff, and then we started getting inspections. So I do understand where that came from. Now we have the same expectations as all the programs.
Got you. Okay.
So I want to jump in and say, I want to first, so good evening, ladies. Latanta, I don't know you. It's a pleasure. Laverne is my day one. So I want to say this, that when we talk about systemic issues, I'm always careful not to generalize from the perspective of every state is different. So the divide, based on my experience working with providers in other states, is more of a Pennsylvania thing than it is a federal systemic worldwide thing, because I can tell you that it is absolutely not like that in New York or in Delaware or in Jersey or in Florida or in Texas, right? And I have providers that I work with in those states, and their concerns, they don't have the issues that we have. They just don't. Their governmental, system is set up very, very different. Pennsylvania has the hardest and strictest rules, which probably is the reason why some of the divide is there. So it is definitely systemic, coming from a state level, not a federal level.
I can definitely agree with that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And hello, everyone. Hi, Latanta, Laverne. Welcome. Hi, everyone. I agree with Obiama, because I, again, too, know many providers outside of Philadelphia,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a different, it's just so different. But I just want to piggyback off of something that Laverne said. I come from a family child care provider, right? I did family child care provider before I did center and group, and so I've been through every stage, right, of childcare. And that division also comes not only from centers, but definitely there is a space where family childcare providers are very guarded, right? And I would tell you this because I've entered many spaces with family childcare providers, and they have actually told me, you don't know where you come from. Down here, you got a big center and whatever. And I'm like, that's where I started, right? So I do understand where you come from. I even had to tell one of them I left because I wasn't making money. So stop complaining, to be about it or do something about it, right? And that was kind of like out of my character, but I needed to say that because I got tired of explaining my intentions and why I wanted to network and provide my supports to family childcare providers. And I received that guard from many family childcare providers. It wasn't just one or two. It's always like, why is she in the room?
Right. I can say, for me, I came from center to family childcare. So I came with a whole experience and a whole background before I owned my own family childcare. I was a director, lead, all of that. And so for me, it was a very intentional and strategic move. My philosophies were not in alignment with the organizations that I was being employed with. And these were organizations that held, high quality seats, they held federal contracts, and me having degrees, I was the lead teacher. I was whatever high rank they needed for that paperwork. And so, coming from a well-rounded experience, my experience, just being in some rooms, is very much I've seen and I've experienced. I would say, kind of condescending interactions where people are like, oh, but you're family, or oh, you don't know because but you don't know who's in the room. And if you don't know me, you don't know my experience before coming to family. I came to family childcare because I crunched the numbers and I was like, I make $90,000 at home as a family childcare provider. Why would I continue to work underneath someone else for a third of that? That doesn't make sense. And I very much made six figures as a family child care provider. And so, but the interactions sometimes can be very off-putting and very condescending. And so then you get that guarded or this division. But I sit comfortably, but all family providers don't. And I guess my question is, how do we break down these barriers so that people aren't feeling like, you're judging me or you're looking down on me? I mean, what is our responsibility here?
So that's the reason I asked the question, right? I wanted to put the question out there so we could have the conversation directly,
Right.
So that we could lay out here's the misconceptions. Here's what it really looks like behind of my in-home program, whether it's a center, and to get past it, because if we keep talking about all the barriers, we already have to fight the other people. We don't have time nor energy nor resources to fight one another. Because then we don't have the unified force to get what it is that we need as an industry. So the purpose was, let's talk about this here, dispel all that stuff, and then let's come play together and make work happen. So that's why, I'm not controversial, but sometimes the controversial needs to happen so that we can get past the elephant in the room.
So here's the elephant in the room. The divide is rooted in insecurity, point blank, period. Point blank, period. And I say that because I started in family childcare and I couldn't get anybody to do anything with me. And I was like, I just want us to split a bus. Like, I just want us to split the cost on this. And the amount of people who were so intimidated that I was going to take their children. And I'm like, how? We all have a limited capacity. That is the most asinine thing. You know what I mean? But it's rooted in insecurity, because when you're not secure in what you're doing, then
Right.
you're feeling some type of way, and for whatever reason you're feeling like, oh, I gotta compete. You don't have to compete.
Nope.
Like, let's win together. We're stronger together. So the solution is that we just need to come together, have real transparent conversations. And here's the other thing. Here's the other elephant in the room. The other elephant in the room, because I'm the one. I'm the confrontational, controversial, whatever, right? And it is this. People be on some shady stuff. They don't be up on their books and on their paperwork. They be skimming, hiding, okay? And so they don't want to be found out.
Period. 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 That's what it is.
Group and center. Like, that's anywhere.
Yeah, it is.
That's
industry. And you come to people, and if that's not how you move, and you see that, it's very off-putting, and like, now I have to be guarded because you are involved in some stuff that's going to jeopardize my integrity, my quality. I'm not into that. And then when people realize that that's not what you did, then it's the whole, I don't want to do her. But let's just recognize our flaws. You know what I mean? Be real with yourself. You know what I mean? Nobody is perfect, but be real with yourself. So you're not coming to a table and then feeling like, oh, they judging me, because no, just look at what the issue is and map out a plan. It's more than enough resources out here to fix whatever it is that you don't have right, or you think you can't get right. Like, just, come correct. I don't know. I don't know.
So I think we also shouldn't we shouldn't put everyone in the same basket. Right. A lot of people have been burned. A lot of people have, had shady people, and I get it. But again, that's when we start choosing our circle a little better, and we start moving a little differently, and connect with the people that can help us get this work done. I do hear a lot of providers say how, I tried to get people to help. No one wants to help. No one wants to give information.
Right.
And I get that. I get it. And it's like, okay.
All the time.
Yeah, I hear it all the time. And I'm like, really? But it's now, there are people who are willing to help. And it's like, then partner with those people, and let's not keep saying how much we've been burned. You were burned. Yes. And so now it's time to do something a little different, or move out there on your own, right? We keep talking about creating your own tables and spaces.
Right.
And then the people will come, and they'll connect.
Right.
And here's the thing about the burn factor. This is the analogy. You are cooking on a stove. You cooking hot grits. Them hot grits start popping. So what you do, you move back, you adjust the fire, you use a lid so you don't get burnt. You don't stop eating grits, nor do you stop cooking grits.
Right.
That's different.
I also have to say something. These organizations that funders, they make child care providers like Family and Group and Center-Based want to compete with each other, right? Like, when we first started our podcast together, we were like, give me the money, right? Show me the money, right? We all want a piece of that dollar, right? So if that dollar is coming down to early child care, you want your piece as a family child care provider. I want my piece as a center-based provider. But the separation and the inequities come from these bigger organizations.
Yeah.
And it trickles down to us, right? And we are the ones, not we. I understand the system. That's the reason why I don't have a problem coming out and being at a family child care event, right? Versus being at one, because I know I feel very confident of who I am and my intentions, right? But a lot of child care providers don't understand that. They don't understand money. They don't understand people. And these systems are in place. They're inequitable, and they make Family Group, center-based, whatever, even from South Philly to North Philly to people right next door to you, all want to compete. And it's not a competition, just like Obiama said, right? There's so many children out there that we could just be lifting each other up, because at the end of the day, that dollar belongs to all of us.
I think I wholeheartedly agree. I find it very interesting the number of people that like go undercover and send people out. It's like, just call me. Hey, I have a program 3 blocks away. How you doing? What's going on? Are you good? Are you not? Like, just I'm very confident and comfortable with who I am, what I do, my philosophy, my mission, my vision. I'm cool. Like, you want to know what's going on? Please call me. Come. Okay. Whatever information I know, I'm always willing to share, because at the end of the day, I know what it's like to be in that position to feel like, oh my God, nobody is helping me. So let me just build my raft, my boat, my table, whatever it is I need. And then I'll have all the information and resources. But because I know what it's like, I'm not going to do that to people. And so people that, come across me, and like Obiama said, people have literally come to me and said, well, I'm intimidated by you. And I'm like, okay, well, why? Like, tell me what it is. And one person was very honest and was like, well, because you know your stuff. And I'm like, well, you know your stuff too. You have a program, you're doing good stuff. You know what I mean? Be confident in what you're doing, and we can keep growing together, because that's what it's about. It's not about, oh, I'm intimidated by you. No, how can I grow and learn from you? Because I'm sure you have some skills, something that I don't have, and so I think when people are more open to the idea that like we all have assets, just because we're not at the exact same place, doesn't mean that you're inferior.
Yeah, and I think especially since we keep really working to go to the table and ask for, well, have asks, like we're asking for funding and we're asking for this stuff. Don't we need to go together, right? I don't, it could be, but I know I've never gone and asked for this specifically for centers.
Right.
I'm always talking about childhood education. It's
Right.
early childhood education. So, we want all of that to trickle down. But I did want to ask specifically, because I don't want to assume that my ask is the same as family and group provider ask. Maybe it is. So what would you guys say? I love dreaming. I love making wishes, right? So, right, the pandemic funding and all that is supposed to go away soon, or it expires next year, 2024. Someone comes up to you guys and says, listen, family group providers, you get exactly what you want. What would you say?
Give me the money. And I would say that because, so since I started, I always had somebody working for me. I always had an assistant. With 6 children, I always had an assistant, because when I first started, I had a torn tendon. So I had surgery about 3 times since I've been open. So I've always had to have an assistant. So I was never exempt from just paying me. I always had to pay someone else. So I've watched the transitions of, I can give someone $7 an hour to, I can give someone $8 an hour to, now I have to give someone 12 to 15. So for me, I have to have the money, because I have to sustain. Even in a family group setting, I have to sustain. And I have to have my ratio covered, just the same as the centers.
Yep. I would say wholeheartedly, just equitable wages, like, especially when you get into the nitty gritty and you start talking about qualifications and work. This is not an equitable system, regardless of where you're teaching. I'm one that I wholeheartedly believe I can teach on a planet, under a tree, in a shoebox. Like, I don't care where I'm at, I'm still teaching. And if I have a certain level of experience and credentials, it doesn't matter where my program is. Pay me what I am worth. This is the only industry where you work and you're not paid what you're worth. And then you look at the providers, whether you're a family group or center, who take the initiative, invest in, higher education. Now, where I may have been okay before, I'm in debt because I went and got this degree or this certification or whatever it is you all said. Okay, now you need this to compete at this level or for this level of quality. And so when you start factoring all those things in, how am I supposed to sustain, whether I'm operating a family child care or a center, if I can't A, pay myself, B, pay staff? People don't want to work in this field. How are we going to sustain? It's really crazy. I just wrote a letter today to one of the agencies that's holding some funding for seats in my program. I'm like, listen, you guys have to do something else, because what you just put in place is not equitable for my organization. This is not going to work. It is not sustainable. And at this point, I mean, we're at a crossroad. So you have to really just pay people what they're worth. We work overtime with no overtime pay. How's that a thing? And it's legal. How? How's that a thing? I'm confused still. Every day I try to do the numbers like.
So what does it look like for a home provider, right?
I'm sorry. I was just going to say that I'm listening to LaTanta. She obviously knows her numbers. She knows her program. I'm listening to Laverne. I know Laverne. I know her program. I know that they know their programs. How about the child care providers that don't know their numbers? How about the ones that don't pay themselves? Because I bump into, one of the things that I do is the business consultant, right? And I can go in through budgets. Most of the providers that I've been consulting don't really understand their numbers, right? And the first thing we bump into is, are you paying yourself?
Right.
And they've been in the field for so long doing pro bono work, right? Honestly, because once you crunch the numbers, they're doing so much for their programs because they invested in their children, their families, they're invested in the communities, that they forget that they are a business. And it's great. You can love what you do, but at the end of the day, you need the money.
You have to be able to take care of your family. To
take care of your own. So thinking about the asks, going back to Leah's question, I get where you guys are saying more money. I'm wondering what the ask would be for those providers, those family childcare providers that are not where you guys are at.
I would say for equality. Because the reality is, again, I don't tend to think it makes sense for me to rely on the government to provide for my business 100%, not even 50, so to speak, unless it's going to the parents. So if you have any businesses, like, you might have a storefront or whatever, a supermarket, restaurant, the government is not funding their business. So I would say equality. And that has to come with education, because like you said, Damaris, a lot of people don't run their business effectively in a way to sustain, to pay themselves, to know their numbers and things like that. And so with that happening, it has to be some equity to let them understand that they are running an actual business and being educated about how to do that.
So when you say equity, equitable in comparison,
what is it? Is it equality?
Yes, but are we talking about equitably across like center, family, and group, or are we talking about ECE versus another industry? Because I guess for someone who isn't clear about what it looks like for a family provider, let me throw out what could be a perception. You guys are in your home. All you have to do, you already live there anyway. Like what expenses do you need to cover? What are we asking for as a family provider? That's
right. That is very, very valid and very true. And so again, do you do a budget? Because if you do, then you know that you have to allocate funding for your rent, mortgage, whatever you want to call it. Your business is occupying space in your home. It needs to pay for its usage of space. And so If you don't know that, you don't know that. What percentage of your house, how much square footage do you have? What is dedicated to your child care? Is your family child care 24 hours? Because, all of that factors in and makes a difference. And so when you look at it from that perspective, these numbers are going to look different regardless, right? Because we talking size. But if we scale it back and look strategically at qualifications that meet these high quality standards and start there, since that is something that's already uniformed, is already across the board. Every state has a system. Some are star 4, some are QRIS 5, or whatever those, whatever that highest level is that we're all seeking to demonstrate, right? To have that accountability measure there. Whatever that is where we start to draw the line for equality and equitable, assets. Like right here, this is it. If we're saying we all need this credential and we all have it and we're teaching under a rock, we're on a tree, then we're all getting paid the same versus something else. And yes, your finances are going to be more when you have a larger space, but let's start there and give everybody a fair starting line.
So should we start with the ELRC reimbursement rate?
Now, see, Damaris, I was going to say that the system the system isn't equitable, because when you look at the reimbursement rate, starting with how there is a difference between counties. Delaware County reimbursement rate is different from Philadelphia. Montgomery County is different from Philadelphia. Bucks County is, so there's a discrepancy just in the reimbursement rate from family to family, community to community, zip code to zip code.
But
like, it starts there, right? And then the other part of the divide with the numbers is, and so here's the other divide: true cost of care. Why is it that some of us think that, oh, well, if we undercut the program down the street, we're ahead, right? And so the other piece of this is the divide. Here's the real divide: scarcity versus abundance, and its mindset. Because when you have a scarcity mindset, you have this crab in a barrel mentality, right? And you're trying to keep everything to yourself and keep everybody. But when you have an abundance mindset, you understand that there is plenty for all of us, and that there's nothing is going to run dry.
Right.
So because there's an abundance for all of us, I can say, Laverne, Latanta, like, let's go ahead and get this bus. Let's go ahead and apply for this grant together. How about that? Let's apply for this grant together. And that's,
that takes the cake. That takes the cake right there. You honestly, the applying and unifying together is so crazy. I'm telling you, I'm bewildered, and I feel like, and I know y'all gonna get me for it, but listen, I feel like, again, it's like what we've been indoctrined in. Like, we have grown to accept this individualistic approach when the vast majority of us come from a background of collectivism, yet we tend to seem to try this individualistic thing and watch people around us crumble. It's so fascinating to me to watch other communities and other industries and other cultures literally build and unify and are wealthy because they work together. Like, it's mind-blowing. I mean, really, I can't even make this stuff up. I be like, so when are we going to catch on? Because we're the only people that's not getting it. We're the only people that's not getting it. Other cultures and communities will come, open up stores, I'm gonna keep this store for 10 years. Now it's your turn. I moved on. Okay. Now I'm gonna keep this store for 10 years and we're gonna all work here together. Like, when do we get it? This crab in the barrel thing is not working. We're not getting anywhere. One or two or three or four or five of us here and there, these sprinkles, that's not efficient. And it doesn't really help our communities. And if we're all working towards growing and sustaining and producing children who are going to also come back and impact these communities, how's this a thing? How are we allowing state funding grants? Like, I don't want to partner with these people. I don't know. Like, listen, these folks out here, they get in the room with each other, argue, fight. But when that money on the table, baby, they all working together. All right, I'm gonna argue and fight with y'all offline. We sitting here together. Oh, nobody outside of this room need to know that I can't stand you for real. Money is on the line. Our legacies is on the line. Our futures are on the line. Our ability to sustain for our children is on the line. You think I got time to argue and fight with you right now? No. But as soon as this is over and we walk outside to our cars, I'm gonna call you every name in the book. Like, I don't know when we're going to get it.
So the one thing I think is always interesting, whether it is, I'm thinking of this whole concept that we're talking about with this division. What I think is funny, because I even see it with teachers and adults, is that we teach children to act in this particular way, like, be nice and use your words and work together and teamwork and your social emotional skills. And so we're talking about the opposite as adults. which is so interesting. So what are some of the things that you feel family and group providers do not get access to?
Oh, those fundings, those large state fundings, like you have to jump through 50 million hoops just to even get invited. Only sometimes for family or group providers to be told, oh, actually, we don't have enough funding. Sorry. And it's like, but where are y'all drawing the line for these measures? Because what are you doing? Are you putting the horse before the cart or the cart before the horse? Because sometimes what you're using as your rubric or measure is not balancing out. So you would tell a family provider, no, you can't participate in this funding stream, but we're going to give it to this center that's struggling with staffing, and their capacity, they have this red flag, that we'll rather give them a chance than give you a chance because you're a home-based provider. That does not make sense. That does not, like, that right there to me is mind-blowing.
Do you know if it's anything? Go ahead.
Good. Oh, yeah.
I wasn't sure. I was just going to have a question about some of the fun. Like, I'm really not sure. I was going to ask, because I know there's federal programs and things like that, Head Start and everything. I wasn't sure if, do any of them have anything written in their regulations, bylaws, or whatever that kind of eliminates you guys from even being
they use caveats and loopholes, so it doesn't have to directly come out that way. But
even if they say certified teachers, even if they say
certified teacher,
so that's
right. But you might be like the 1%er, so to speak.
Right.
So it could just be something else.
What you guys don't have, and I understood this as a family childcare. And what you don't have, you can have the STARS 4. You could be a NACE accredited program. You can have 20,000 certifications. But what you don't have is the numbers. You don't have the capacity to make the state look better or
that's
good
what it is.
enough to continue getting more and increased funding. If you guys always hearing they're always talking about, we can have, there's a loophole of 3,000, we can fill 3,000 additional slots. It's all about money. And that is why, and I understood this very early on, when I was in my family childcare days, and I had to make that decision because of that, right? If I want access to this money, then it's a political thing. It is what it is. I knew that after 6, there was only but so much I can access,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I need to show the numbers. And if you're not showing the
Right. Right.
capacity, you're
Right.
not going to be able to access any
Yep.
big dollars.
Yep. That's, it's funny because this is one of the things we talked about at one of our FC3 live at fives is like the state has a goal, and their goal is to, number one, show where the money is going. And it's a lot easier to demonstrate when you're looking at large numbers versus smaller numbers. It makes a lot more work. It gets messy. They don't want to deal with it. I wholeheartedly understand that and agree with that. But you would rather give somebody with no qualifications or teachers who aren't even there the opportunity to do it than a person who is qualified. That makes no sense. It is absolutely preposterous.
So if it is about numbers, I'm wondering if, right? So, and I want you guys to tell us about Family Care Coalition. Say
Mhm.
Family Care Coalition was the
Lead. Mm-hmm.
lead.
Mm-hmm.
It represented hundreds of family group providers.
Mm-hmm.
Is that an option?
That is an option. That is something that we absolutely are working towards. And it's just a matter of meeting the paperwork. Some stuff is, well, you don't have this budget yet because you're startup, or you don't have, you know what I mean? So like some opportunities, we have identified the fact that, you know what, Laverne and I, we can't do it at Heavenly Made Creations and Urban Giving Tree and Small Wonders. But if we take this larger organization and plug it in on our behalfs, then we can double back and plug in. Of course, that's, unfortunately, that's the game you have to play. We get it. We understand. Now it's a matter of ramp up.
And I definitely think that's the direction we need to go just as an industry. And I think we've been having this conversation about just moving forward as a business and moving forward as business owners versus what people could perceive as these passive, passionate people who just work with children while people go to work. Like that's old school. That's old school thinking, because that's not it anymore. It's not a matter of we just take care of children while families go to work. Like we are educating, right? Like you said, you totally have certification. We all have degrees. We've invested all kinds of money, just like every other industry. I just believe we have to start talking like business professionals. We have to start moving like business professionals. And, having our numbers together, being able to come together and rub elbows with our business professionals as a business owner. Like I'm a business owner.
Right.
This is what I happen to do as a business owner. I take care of children.
No, I'm an educator all day, every day. I have been since I was 8 years old. That's what I knew. It doesn't matter. You could go ahead and call my 5 siblings that I grew up with. They will tell you from the rip, she's been our teacher forever, okay? So that is, you know what I mean? This is it. I eat, sleep, and breathe education. I want everybody around me to have access to knowledge, because knowledge is power. And when we put our knowledge, our brains together, we are more powerful. But when I'm sitting over here using my big old brain by myself and you sitting over there using yours, I mean, hello. I know they taught us all that 2 brains are better than 1. This is why we had this whole movement of teams and networks, and because we can get more done together. And so I just absolutely look forward to the unification, and not just a bunch of chit chat and talk. I mean, you can hate my guts personally outside of business, hate me to the core, but let's get this business done together. You know what I mean? Like, that's cool. I'm fine with that. You don't have to go on vacation with me. Great. But these contracts got $1 million written on the line. All right. So $1 million a piece. This is not, you're going to split $1 million with me. No, we're going to go out here and $1 million. Yeah, that's a lot of money that people don't even realize is even out here. Sometimes, people are sitting quietly and just watching opportunities pass by. It's weird.
So tell us, how does the Family Child Care Coalition bridge that divide.
So, all right, go ahead, Laverne. Go.
So I'm it's a prime send off around me, so there's a lot of background stuff. So I'm trying to catch it in the quiet spots. Yeah, so that's a gap also. That's a gap also. It's a lot of undermining. It's a lot of crabs in the barrel right within. I wish I could call it racial. I honestly would rather call it racial, but it's not. There's a lot of I want to be the Indians and the Chiefs, that whole thing. I don't want to pass the baton. I want to run the show. And there's a lot of people with motives that want to keep things in a certain way to benefit them overall. And that's the gap that is the struggle when it comes to family and group providers also, right within our own industry. And I mean, a little example, I live next door, 2 doors from a child care provider who took care of my children. And we don't have a relationship. I have relationships with the providers down the street because of the insecurity, because of the competition and the bad mindset. That same thing is happening within the organizations and stuff that are being formed and created, and that's out here every day. And so, we have the Family Child Care Coalition, and we'll get the support. Oh, I'm gonna come to whatever you have. But when it's time to become a member, we are fully funded on our own. We're not funded by any of the investors and stuff. And when it's time to join us, it's like, oh, but no, because y'all name not popping, or y'all not doing this, or y'all not doing that, And so, my biggest thing is finding somebody who shares the vision and not just want the title and not just want to be seen.
So that's
the gap that we have as Family Child Care Coalition.
Sorry, yeah, we had quite a few experiences with people coming to the table for opportunities that were not yet accessible, to us. We're a grassroots organization. And like Laverne said, we are self-funded. So every dime that goes into FC3 comes from Laverne and Latanta. Every dime. We have recently secured some funding through First Up to assist with one of our projects. But everything else that FC3 is doing is all on us. And so it's just the division. It's unfortunate. It's very cliquish. And sadly, it doesn't even have an age limit. I can't even get past it in my mind. I'm just all around. I'm good anywhere I'm at. I'm going to be comfortable. I'm going to be me. I'm gonna be supportive. If I don't know something, I'm going to pick up a phone and call somebody. You know what I mean? Even if I might not like you as a person, unless we've had a conversation, you're not going to know that. I'm still going to pick up the phone and call you because this is your area of expertise. You know what I'm saying? And I think people don't get that within the coalition itself. Like, this coalition came to Philadelphia specifically because we were associated with a large group of providers, and we were standing on our own, supporting each other, providing coaching, mentoring, support with Advancing in Stars, all free. Okay. And that was very attractive to the funders who supported the work we're doing. But when I went to the group, present the information, Laverne and I, it was a lot of skepticism about what roles people would play and how much they would have to financially contribute, or how is this not starting a whole new business? The bottom line is we got to start somewhere. And somebody recognized that we were already doing the work and they were giving us the money, which they still gave it to us. That's attractive to people who want the numbers. They want to be able to publish reports that say this group was impacted and these are the numbers. But if you don't understand that this is all a numbers game and it's all politics, then you sit in a space and you hold your personal bias as leverage to give yourself the boost or whatever it is you need to feel like, well, I don't want to be a part of that, or I don't want to do that. And our whole mission is everybody has a seat at this table. We're all coming with skills. You have something of value. You have an asset. There's something there. So there's no one person in charge in this organization. You have a steering committee, and then you have the members. Every person that's a member is a co-owner of this organization. What does that look like? Your paid membership and contributions to the work make you a co-owner. That's it.
So it's kind of like having a job, and your job is like security versus starting on your own. You scared to go out there because the job is security for you.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just have a clarification question, and only because I really don't know. But are you guys the union, the FCC?
No,
Is that?
no.
Oh, okay.
We are affiliated with the union, but FC3 is not the union.
Understood.
Okay.
So we want to be respectful of you guys' time. So last question to kind of just bring this to a close. What is the solution? Like, if you had a magic wand, what is the solution? Because money can't cure mindset.
Nope. Can't. I honestly think holding the space and inviting people, this me, my pie in the sky. We can all be in one space and just literally hash out what the problems are. What are your issues? I mean, walk away upset if you have to, but realize we have a greater goal. We have a responsibility, not only to ourselves, but to our communities, to the families we serve. We're doing a disservice by isolating and segmenting and keeping this division going. And so if we just, everybody that's interested in growing and moving forward, even if you have personal issues, come to this space because we have work to do. Roll up your sleeves. It might get a little messy. I don't know, but come prepared. Be open-minded. Be respectful.
And I'm going to keep on from the mountaintop. I'm going to keep on communicating with my coaches to make sure I don't get too savage, but get savage when I'm supposed to until they get it. Because I can quit every day, but I won't quit because this is us. And so I won't quit. And I won't quit until everybody involved understands why I'm not quitting. So it's all about just continuing to speak up and use my voice so that it's heard and understood why we need to come together and how we need to come together. We might be, it might just look like it's nothing, but we got power, which is what makes it, we're feared. I'm gonna just say that we are feared.
And so here's what's coming to mind. I saw an activity. Actually, I've heard of it before, but I saw an activity of a school age teacher who did it with their children, and they kind of asked them to write down on a piece of paper just kind of negative thoughts or limiting beliefs that they had, and they wrote it down and balled them up, and then at some point burned them to let it go. Because here's what I know. We all were in the pandemic together. We all was in the budget impasse together. We're all in the same boat. So it sounded like to me we need to write down all our vices and our emotional stuff, because it sounds real emotional. And those emotions are not going to get through to the legislators and the feds and anything else. And so if we put that stuff aside, burn that, and then move forward so that we can get this funding, because I don't know if any of you guys the past couple of days, there's so many hearings and webinars and everything talking about the money that's ready to expire, and how much money, it was billions of dollars. It was a huge number of how much money was spent during the pandemic, and now we're trying to fight to keep this money coming in. The only way if we do have our specific asks, if we know our numbers, if we understand this business side, because we can't keep wanting the funding, just saying we need more money, we need more money. No, here's what we need, and here's what we need it for specifically, and move as business professionals. And so all the other stuff, like we have to let it go, because I'm sure so many other industries are not moving in that same manner. And it reminds me of the households. I know my husband and my kids are never going to know if we don't agree on something. My team, I tell them at work, my admin team, our teachers and staff should never know if any of us are going through anything.
Right.
We are united. We are united in everybody.
Right.
Now later, we'll talk later, but we're unified. So, that's the only way we're going to be able to get this work done. It's not emotional. It's not emotional because we're business owners, and emotions does not keep our doors open.
Baby, don't pay no bills.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, it was such a pleasure. And I know I learned, again, my mom, I was born in a group program, and, I understood that side a long time ago, but I didn't want to act like I totally understood what it looks like to be a family or group provider. So thank you for sharing with us today. We appreciate it. And any family group providers, connect with Family Care Coalition. Understand that it is not about the emotions there. It's about moving the work forward. And yes, let us know your thoughts and share with us too any experiences that you may have had as a family group provider or even centers, so that we can understand, dispel it, and then fill the gap with the stuff that we need to do to move us forward.
Well, I'm looking forward to the invitation to the Move Forward movement. So make sure I'm on the list.
Listen. And it is recorded. We shall.
The Move Forward movement. Okay, we're moving.
Awesome. Well, to the listening audience, you have been listening to another episode of the Impact Podcast. We thank you so much. And you can catch us right back here on the first and third Thursday of each month at the 7:00 hour. Until we see you guys again, sending you peace and love.
Bye.
Bye.